I would now like to invite to the stage Syer to the stage, who joins us all the way from California from the Positive Coaching Alliance.
So it was about 6 years ago when in California I was working for Positive Coaching Alliance, and we were approached by some of your colleagues who had this idea about bringing some of the stuff we had done in California and in the United States through Positive Coaching Alliance to Scotland. When our board first heard of this, they said, you guys still have a lot of work to do in the United States. We're not sure if we're ready to go international. But the Scots were very persistent, and Positive Coaching Scotland was born. So this was about 6 years ago. And I can tell you, I've been with Positive Coaching Alliance now for 12 years, and the work that you guys are doing here in Scotland is one of PCA's proudest achievements. And I'm just really proud to be associated with a group of individuals who are bringing our mission all the way to Scotland. So thank you to my Positive Coaching Scotland colleagues. So as far, very quickly about my own background, I actually played hockey at Stanford University in California. After I graduated there with honors in psychology, I went on to coach at Stanford, and then I coached hockey in our Olympic development program. Coming out of that, I ended up at Positive Coaching Alliance as the 4th staff member. We're now up to 40, and we have more than 100 presenters, trainers, tutors who present 1,300 live workshops across the United States every year. Last year, we reached over 1 million youth athletes in our country. It sounds wonderful, but we actually have 40 million kids playing. So we still have a lot of work left to do in the United States. With that, I want to jump into my presentation here. And usually, when I go to a school or a youth sports organization in California, it's not as wonderfully set up as today. It might be a gymnasium or a classroom where I'm just looking for someone to let me in and hoping that they have power. So this is a really different setting for me. But I've done more than 300 of those presentations in the United States for coaches, for parents, for student athletes, and leaders of organizations. Now, when I walk in, often they're required to be there. If they're going to be allowed to coach football or coach at their school, they have to go to the Positive Coaching Alliance training. You can imagine when I walk in, a lot of people are sitting in the back. They've got their arms crossed, and they look at me and they say, "Where's the sign-in sheet?" So there's a certain amount of skepticism when I come into the room and they've been required to be there. So the first question I ask them, you're required to be here for a 2-hour training on positive coaching. What do you think you're going to hear from me for the next 2 hours? And here I only got 20 minutes, so it's going to be power-packed, but I'm going to do the same thing with you guys. What do you think of when you hear this term positive coaching? What does it mean to you? Anyone in the audience? A brave soul. Encouragement? Hard work? Fun? Inspiring. It's inspiring, motivation, right? So you guys are a very friendly audience, very nice. I was giving an ice hockey workshop in Florida, believe it or not. They have some ice hockey there. It was the Solar Bears, good name for a Florida ice hockey team. And I asked this question, a room full of guys, very grizzled ice hockey coaches. No one would say anything. They all had their arms crossed. They wouldn't say anything. And I said, "Come on, guys, I've got thick skin." And the guy in the back raised his hand, and he looked at me and he said, "This is an eat your vegetables, everyone wins a trophy, granola crunching liberalism from the San Francisco Bay Area." Okay? And I said, "Thank you," right? Because a lot of people come and they think this really is soft, right? Just treat everybody well, no matter how they perform, give them a pat on the back. It's just about nice fluff and puffy clouds. So one of the first things I like to do is dispel that and say positive coaching is really about creating an atmosphere that supports the best possible performance, right? And through positive coaching, we're not just going to have happy kids who stick with sports, but we're actually going to see better performance on the fields, in the pool, on the water. So competition. There's been quite a debate in the US, and I'd say almost worldwide, about whether or not competition is a good thing. Because so many bad things come, like win-at-all-cost mentality. People are, performance-enhancing drugs, bending the rules to win. Competition is a bad thing. And I think it's really important to look at the Latin roots of competition. And if you look at the real meaning of the word, it means striving with. Not striving against, but striving with. Right? So we want to do that, join together and strive to our best possible performance. This is the most text I think I have on any of my slides, and I'm going to read this to you here. There isn't any other youth institution that equals sports as a setting in which to develop character. There just isn't. Sports are the perfect setting because character is tested all the time. It means a great deal if that time in sports is well used. And Callum, I'm going to pick on you. In sailing, you have to basically judge yourself. Is that correct? Take yourself out of a race if you've missed a buoy or something like that. So a number of sports, you know, your character is tested all the time. Are you going to bend the rules to win or honor your sport? And this John Gardner, who's actually the Secretary of Education in our country and taught at the Stanford Business School, one of our founding board members, writes about leadership. And he really believes there's no better place than sports to build the leaders of tomorrow. When Positive Coaching Alliance started, and I appreciate my Scottish colleagues, they've already been pushing me about this, Jim Thompson, our founder and executive director, thought we could change the whole culture of sport through one group of people. Based on our name, who did we think we could change the whole culture through just this one group of people? Coaches, right? How long did it take us to realize we weren't going to change the culture just working with coaches? 30 seconds. Right, 30 seconds. I'd say probably about 6 months. And the coaches we talked to said, we love this. Yep, this is great stuff. But we're sending kids home with parents who have a different attitude, right? So we're doing everything we can with them for our time at practice and games, but you need to talk to the parents. So we developed programs for parents. And then the parents and the coaches said, well, now our leadership isn't supporting us. So now we have workshops for leaders. And finally, the high schools said, we want you to talk directly to our student athletes, right to our captains. So now we work with all of those different groups of people. And Positive Coaching Scotland is following that same model. All right. So I think one of the really broad things here, and Rachel, you did a wonderful job of articulating this earlier, is that when we participate in sport, the gains aren't just through the physiology and the physical gains, but there are so many other areas of our lives where we actually improve and we perform better because we're athletes, because we're performing. And one of the things we see in the States is that athletes actually get better grades. I don't know if anyone's experienced this when you guys played sports, that you actually got better grades when you were in season. Did anyone have that experience? Your time is a little more structured. Graduation rates are higher for kids who are playing sports. It's the carrot, right, that you're going out to perform. Less substance abuse, less gang involvement. It's those after-school hours where kids end up getting involved in the wrong thing, and if they're playing sports, that doesn't happen. Finally, battling an obesity epidemic because people love physical activity through sports. And then all of the character lessons, right? When we look at women who are Fortune 500 leaders in the United States, 96% of them played on a sports team in college, right? Because they learn how to be a leader, they're resilient. And I think finally, one thing I really like is that talking to people in positions of authority, any of you who have your own kids, they want to play a new position on their team. They want more playing time. One of the best things we can do is say to our kid, you go to the coach. You have that conversation directly with the coach, rather than stepping in as the parent and being the savior, right? But learning to talk to coaches, learning to question officials in a way, or talk to officials and referees and umpires in a way that's constructive. All right. So I want to ask you guys another question. What do we do when players make a mistake during a competition? Maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a parent, maybe you're a teammate. What typically happens when an athlete makes a mistake during a competition? So a teammate might encourage them, pick them up. They get shouted at, right? Let me try this a little differently. If I'm a striker on your football team, right? I have a breakaway, beat the central defender, got a one-on-one with a goalkeeper, go to take my shot, get my weight back, and send the ball over the crossbar. I want you guys to be my parents, okay? You guys back there, you can be my teammates, and you up here are my coaches, okay? I sent the ball over the crossbar. What happens? Go. Okay. The ultimate drainer from my coaches right now is what? How can my coaches really bring me down after this shot? Tina, sub. Right? Okay. Teammates, right? You guys were on me. Now let me ask you the tougher question. In this moment, I kick it over the crossbar. What I really need you to do is fill my tank, make me feel better about myself. Can you do that? Go. Right, so that's a lot harder, right? It's a lot harder in that moment to know what to do. You guys recognize anyone on this slide here? Come on, that's me. Okay, 20 years ago, seriously, that was me in high school.